let's get started. So maybe just quickly from an introduction perspective, for today, we've got Beck Miller from Seek joining us. Beck, do you want a quick intro from your side, your role with Seek?
Yes, hi everyone. I've been head of Seek Volunteer for about 6 years, and Seek Volunteer has been around for about 25. So we're really delighted to be here today and have been working for a few years with Rosterfy on this. So I'm sure I know many of you on the other end. And then back to you, Shannon.
Fantastic. And Mark Pearce as well. Thanks for joining us. Quick one from your side. No doubt everyone knows you, Mark, but quick one from your side.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Before I introduce myself, obviously I'm Mark Pearce, I'm the CEO of Volunteering Australia. I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands that we're all meeting on today. For me, I'm in Meanjin, otherwise known as Brisbane, on the lands of the Turrbal and Yagara people. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, extend those respects to traditional custodians across this land, and further acknowledge and say hello to any Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people who are joining us today. Thanks so very much for making your time available to jump in, listen to something which speaks to enhancing the volunteer experience. Shannon, back to you, and we might get underway.
Perfect, no worries. And Beck, this has been, as you said, 2 years in the making. And for those I haven't met yet, Shannon, co-founder here at Rosterfy, based down in Melbourne. It's a real privilege to be here, I think, Beck. It's been a lot of work that's come for a long time. I guess it started with the vision about seeing how we can enhance that experience for volunteers, firstly, about how do we make sure it's the sharpest experience possible, that if volunteers are expressing interest on Seek, how do we make sure that they are turning into real life volunteers, making an impact in their community. So really, really pleased to be here today. And I just wanted to say thank you firstly to the Seek team, Beck and Kat and the wider team, for the work they've put in over the last couple of years, really, that's got us to this point, and also to our Rosterfy team for the hard work developing this integration. It's a first of its kind in Australia, and I think, Mark, from the Volunteering Australia perspective, I guess aligning with the vision around that volunteer experience and sort of future-proofing, I suppose, the way volunteering is leading. So that's why we're all here today. So thank you for everyone for joining us. I'll get to an agenda shortly. Mark, was there anything else you would like to start with from a welcome perspective, or are all covered at the start there, mate?
No, look, I think we're pretty covered. Cool. I will say that obviously with respect to today's session, it'll be the first of a number that Volunteering Australia hosts, and it speaks to, I suppose, a broader commitment which we express through the Volunteering Gateway. For many here today, and for many across the country, we launched the Volunteering Gateway last year. The Volunteering Gateway provides an opportunity for volunteer managers, volunteer coordinators, to access a gateway, as the name quite reasonably suggests, to solutions which make your life as volunteer managers, volunteer coordinators, that much easier. A full host of solutions are out there which are easily accessible through the Volunteering Gateway. It was an important development for us in order to, I suppose, assist and to reduce some of the noise and confusion around who, what, how, and where do you gain access to solutions which aid in the delivery of mission. The Volunteering Gateway is that gateway to those solutions, and Rosterfy is one of the solutions which sits on the gateway, and we provide access to. So this is a good opportunity for us to obviously highlight one of the key solution providers.
Thank you, Mark, and I guess your mission there as well on the slides.
Yeah, indeed. And I suppose it's pretty simple that our mission, both as the national peak body, but also as the owner of the Volunteering Gateway, is to assist you to assist others. That's essentially what it comes down to. Our role in this ecosystem is perhaps no more complicated than that. And it really is to ensure that the Gateway is there to help you help other people.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Mark. All right, so I guess a quick introduction of both Rosterfy and Seek for those that haven't worked with us before or are aware of us. So I'll kick off about Rosterfy. Look, for us as a business, we want to be the very best in the world in this space of mass workforce management and large-scale volunteering in terms of the technology platform to power the largest and most complex challenges in volunteering, all backed through automations. And I think that's the key point of difference of what Rosterfy offers is configurable automations for the clients that we work with. We're really proud of the fact that we as a business have now powered over 100 million hours of volunteering around the world. I think already early in this year, I think we're already up to about 140 million hours through volunteering since the start of this year. So it's something that we care a lot about as an organisation. We're part of Pledge 1%. So our team, we have about 60 full-time staff around the world who are actively volunteering and giving our time, so 1% of our business. And then 35 countries that we're operating in, clearly being where we've been born and bred from day one, storing our data here locally, all of our developments done here in Australia. So proudly Aussie born and bred company, but really making an impact around the world. So that's who we are. And a quick sample of some of the customers that we work with just as a reference point. So I guess working across a large variance of, verticals, if you will, of non-profits, local governments, city council, major sports and events, higher education, universities, and also emergency relief organisations like St John as well. So that's who we are as a business. And then a quick sample here. I've got a quick video of a sort of of what our platform is. And especially, I just wanted to show today the mobile app that we've launched for that volunteer experience. And I think this speaks to what Mark mentioned at the start around enhancing the volunteer experience and really taking it into the next generation of volunteering and future-proofing. That's what we're all about as a business. And hopefully, as what you see on the app here, is a really sharp, what we believe is the world's best volunteer experience, and that's what we stand for. So that's just a quick sample of who we are and the work that we do. As you see, there's sort of that check-in process and volunteers being able to access everything very easily, including reward and recognition on their mobile phones or via the mobile app. So Beck, over to you about Seek.
Yeah, so we anchor to Seek's purpose because we're not that much different in that we're helping you guys build your workforce. It just happens to be your unpaid workforce versus your paid workforce that Seek Employment does. So we anchor to a purpose of helping people live more fulfilling and productive working lives and helping you guys succeed. And we know a big part of helping your organisation succeed is actually keeping things simple. So we, one of our main CVPs for you guys is, that's like our value proposition, is to make sure that our platform is easy to use. And I'm pretty delighted to be here today because the automations that Shannon has talked to is going to make your life even easier. So the three things that we do kind of focus on though, and you'll see there in those brief little illustrations, is making sure that we can drive as many people to the Seek volunteer side as possible. As a result, we don't have an app, so everything you're hearing today is driven through our website because what we want to do is really catch those volunteers, those new volunteers right at the top of the funnel that may never even heard of any of these platforms. They pop something into, you know, the Google search engine and we spend a bit of marketing money making sure that we direct them to Seek Volunteer. So as part of that, we also want to have all the opportunities that we can in one place for those volunteers to see. So this integration today will help us build that repository of opportunities for volunteers to view. The second one there is around, I guess, the quality of applications really and the features that we have on site to make sure that we're sending you quality volunteers with the right skills and experience that you need. And then the last one there is yeah, as I said, ease of use. And you'll see in my three sort of big, pink bubbles at the bottom there, our current satisfaction score with you guys at the moment is over 30. And we actually measure this. We ask you, how easy has it been to use Seek Volunteer? One of the things we're most proud of is you're giving us an 8 out of 10 at the moment. I'm secretly hoping in the next 12 months that'll jump up to 9 through automating and making your lives easier as well. But we're very, very proud of that. And just some numbers from us. So each year we have about 4,500 organisations in Australia. And if there's anyone listening from New Zealand, we've got about 500 of you guys as well. And then each year we're advertising between us all about 28,000 opportunities on Seek Volunteer. So the volumes are really good, really high, and something that we continue to build. The 56% that you see here, I'm going to get into this a little bit more detail later. But I don't report up to my managers just on how many applications we give you, because we want them to be quality. We want those people to be placed. So when someone applies on Seek Volunteer, they actually, about a couple of weeks later, get a survey from us, and we ask them, did you actually go on to volunteer in the experience you expressed interest in? And this goes to impact. We want those volunteers to be placed. So you can see there at the moment that just over half the people that apply on Seek Volunteer are going on to be placed in your organisation. That's something that we double down on, and I'll get into it in more detail lately, but one of the outcomes of this automation is that hopefully more people will get placed by automatically transferring data through to Rosterfy. So that's me for now. I'm probably familiar, as I said, with most of you. We continue to take your feedback on ease of use of the platform, but for now I'll hand back to Shannon.
You're just on mute, Shannon.
Sorry, I'm mute. The agenda. So I guess the first thing we'll kick off with is, Beck, to start off with the role technology plays. And I think just modernising that experience and looking to the future of where we are today maybe, and then I guess looking at potentially other industries and where technology has taken them. And again, I'll keep repeating the word about future-proofing, because that's something that we really believe in. The next one is around solving customer challenges together. And through that experience, we'll be able to talk to some real-life examples of testing of this integration tool with some customers. Next is around the overview. So we've actually got some little videos recorded of what the experience looks like for a volunteer going through the integration. And then secondly, for administrators, and around the time saving, not double handling, the posting of opportunities and editing opportunities. And then lastly, around just wrapping it all up and what does this all mean for volunteer managers. So I guess through the process today, please feel free to put your questions into the chat, and there might be some that make sense to grab as we go. Beck and I will see them, keep an eye on it, but we've put time aside at the end, probably 15 minutes or so, for a Q&A. Naturally, there'll be lots of nuanced questions potentially for your sort of organisation, and you'll see at the end we've also got a QR scan that you can scan to book some time in individually to go through in much more detail than what today will cover. So Beck, ready to kick off? Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Lovely. All right, so over to you, Beck, around the role technologies playing.
So as I was thinking about this the other day, I was like, for those of you that are my age or similar-ish, I was casting my mind back to the time when you would order a taxi over the phone and then you would just wait, and it could turn up in 5 minutes, it could turn up in an hour, eventually it turned up and you're happy as Larry and you hopped in the taxi. We just do not have that patience anymore by any means. We sit there, we watch the Uber guy, we can see where he's driving, we see where he's coming, and all of these types of experiences and these integrations between different platforms have just now created a much, much greater expectation of the customer experience to be seamless from one part of the journey all the way through to the end. And people do not actually have the patience. As I said, as soon as there's a little bit of dropout or they have to put in a little bit of effort, we've become pretty lazy, to be quite frankly, and we've seen that. So I've got there, obviously the Uber experience. Anytime that we're online shopping and we're going from an e-commerce platform to a payment gateway to then being giving a tracking code to track the delivery organisation. If you think of these experiences in our everyday life, now for us and even for the next generation more so, they're expecting these seamless experiences, and they're going to tap out from platforms that don't provide those pretty quickly. So as Shannon and I have mentioned, we've been working on this for some time because we know that expectation is there. We want to not only make your life easier, but we want to make that volunteer who has taken, as you know, how much time it takes to get them interested in volunteering, all all the way through to applying. Once we've got them, we really want to give them a great experience. So it's not rocket science, but if you think of, they're two little examples in our everyday life. Is probably about 4 or 5 moments, whether it's your banking app, whether it's your Uber, whatever it is, where we now have created this expectation of a seamless experience. And now we're bringing the volunteer, ecosystem into that world, which is really exciting for us. And then just to the next slide, Shannon. So this links really nicely into the National Volunteer Strategy, which talks about enhancing the volunteer experience and the use of technology. So we're really delighted here today to be, reducing those barriers for volunteers, and particularly those young people. As you guys are looking to recruit youth into volunteering, they will primarily be expecting this experience. So, this is the biggest anchor that we have here today. We're delighted that Mark is here hosting us and that you're all here. So back to you, Shannon.
Thank you. And Beck, the other thing I think about to your previous slide is the fundraising experience. I tear my hair out going how easy and the priority and focus we put on fundraising, which makes, of course, a lot of sense. But I really think volunteering is similar to fundraising in that sense of it's emotional. You want to get involved. You see something. Let's not wait 4 days to follow up with that person to then say, oh, do you still want to get involved? Let's make it instantaneous. And I think that's a big thing about capturing that expression of interest and turning them into real volunteers and increasing that sort of 56% number.
And just on that, if I can add something from a Seek perspective. So one of the things we do in our job every day here as Seek Volunteer is we look at what Seek does from an employment perspective, and we're always asking the question, where is volunteering the same as employment and where is it different? And there are a lot of parts on that journey and with our platform where we've sort of got some great ideas from Seek Employment. But where we are different is with the mindset of our customers. When you're job hunting, you wake up every morning and you have a look at your app and you're thinking about where is my next job coming from? And you don't stop thinking about it until you've got that job. But when it comes to volunteering, it's pretty momentary. There's a lot of people out there who think about it and then life gets in the way. So if we've got them and we've managed to get them in that kind of funnel somewhere, if it's putting in something into Google, they've landed at Seek Volunteer, we want to keep them and we need to work really, really hard to keep them so that we can get them all the way through to actual volunteering. So we actually need to work a little bit harder, I think, because of that mindset being a bit more fleeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Beck. All right, so I guess we'll jump ahead to why have we done this and what are the benefits? So Beck, feel free to jump in here as well around your thoughts. But I guess if we try and succinctly summarise it, we need to increase the conversion rate of volunteers from applicant to being a real volunteer. That's number one. Let's not wait days and days to manually process, and we'll go through some examples of how this can happen at the moment. Number two is around seamless one-step application process. So there shouldn't be two different systems. You shouldn't be applying through Seek and then needing to re-register and get invited to do another reg form, sometimes doing the same information twice as a volunteer. It's just not the standard, I guess, in this day and age. The next is automated onboarding communication. So I think that's a key thing here, is that even if they are in your system, then it shouldn't be manual. It should be completely automated for all of your different roles and journeys, from drivers to hospital attendants to tin rattlers, whatever it might be. The automation needs to be part of that journey. Next is around centralised opportunity publishing. So how do you publish once compared to needing to publish in your systems and then over in Seek? How do you centralise the management of that to reduce the double handling and maybe the risk of we all know it, things change. Let's not add additional admin burden to making these changes happen. Number 5 is the enhanced experience for both volunteers and admin. So we'll get into the detail there. So that's the purpose of today. Beck, what's your thoughts of in a sort of sentence or two, why did we do this? What's your thoughts, Beck?
Yeah, we do a bit of research here, and it's called Jobs to be Done. And what are the jobs to be done for our customers, whether that's you or volunteers? And the biggest one, as I said, I've been in this role for 6 years, has always been reduce the admin burden for organisations. And that was 6 years ago, pre-COVID. Then COVID happened. a lot more regulatory compliance stuff coming in, and your job has not got any easier. And so it's kind of pretty pleasing to be a tech platform with the support that we have from Seek and the relationship with Rosterfy to actually really double down on that. So that's probably the biggest thing for me with this, is actually making your lives easier, because they haven't got easier for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool, thank you. So I guess the first one we'll kick off with, so we're going to walk through two real life. The way I always think about things is you've got to touch it and feel it, and it's got to be real. So we wanted to make sure that we've tested this and we're doing things responsibly. And so we've done 2 live testings now with customers. The first is Sydney Children's Hospital Foundation, who are up in Sydney, obviously. And then we've also got Starlight Children's Hospital, Sydney Children's Foundation as well. So we've got those 2 examples, and we're going to walk through kind of what was there before and after effectively, just so that you can hopefully read these and analyse and think about yourself in the way that you do things. So I guess we'll be sending through the recording to people, so there might almost be a bit too much text here for people to be reading, so feel free to take time afterwards to review everything like that. But I guess these might be some similar challenges that you're facing. In particular, the big one was around the big drop-off rates that Sydney Children's experienced from applicants on Seek through to becoming real volunteers. And so it's actually, I just wanted to call out to our good friend Kylie, who was up there at the time. Kylie was a big driver actually for this integration and sort of push and a bit of force behind this to say, like, we can really enhance this experience because of some of the challenges she was facing. She knew others are facing the same. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Kylie for her push and energy behind this too. So I guess, as I said, quite a few steps before. I guess if we're looking at this, there's a 7-step process for, I guess, for Sydney Children's to be posting opportunities and all the way through for a volunteer to be connected through. The biggest point here is that they were facing around a 30% conversion rate of applicants through that process because of the time in between was a big driver, and the second one was the manual work required for volunteers to do things twice. So that was a big reason for the why. And then after the testing, this is the process now, and we're going to show this in a video, so it's probably a bit easier for you to read and understand. But the biggest outcome, as you see in the bottom line here, is the conversion rate is now at 80 to 100% for their key events. And so if nothing else, and you know, for Mike and Volunteering Australia wanting to increase the conversion rate of volunteers, from all my experience in this field, and the data is already showing there that we can really enhance that through the brief experience here with Sydney Children's. And here's a quick comment from their team with Carly. Carly as well has been exceptional in her testing and I guess effort behind this. And I think people like Carly are the ones that drive this sort of innovation forward, because you've got to take things on and try new things. And I think, Carly, we really appreciate your work to be testing and trying new things with the goal of enhancing the experience for both your organisation and for the volunteers. So thanks, Carly. So Starlight Children's, as a side note, Starlight were one of our very first customers, probably 7 or 8 years ago in non-profit world. So they've been with us for a long time. And I guess some of the challenges they faced was they used Seek, but with no automation, as I guess we were all facing. Very manual in the process for volunteers, many touch points as well. They were struggling to track the data of where their volunteers were at in the process, and it got very sort of conversational compared to data-led and manual onboarding. And for them, I think they saw a big drop-off risk for their business for volunteers that were going through that process, because they weren't automating through to a system that was tracking those volunteers with live dashboards. And secondly, having no automation that they were used to in Rosterfy, because it was coming from a separate system. And that's why they need the 2 systems talking together and integrating that process seamlessly. So I guess the big takeaway, if we look at it from the 2, reducing the amount of steps that the volunteers must go through and the business has to go through to post. And number 2 is drastically increasing the conversion rate of those volunteers because of the efficiencies gained in that process. And a quick comment here from Gillian, and I know the Starlight Children's team have been really helpful as well in their process of testing, especially with the time saved that they're already reporting back. An important point there is around the quality of applicants too. So that's an interesting one that I guess we'll keep exploring around how we can increase the quality by, I guess, really aligning multiple roles out there and aligning those volunteers to onboard specifically for the role that they are applying for compared to generally. All right, so let's get into it. Beck, I might let you handle this first one about how the process works with Seek.
Yeah, so one of the great things about technology is you can pretty much track every single page on your website, and we do that very, very well. So we look at all the way from, say, a search through to Google or a visit on our website, all the way through to, as I mentioned before, the placement. So there's a few things that we have always focused on, continue to focus on, and then new things pop up for us with this data. So I thought I would just take you through what the volunteer experience is on Seek Volunteer, what we kind of focus on to try to prevent the drop-off points in that funnel and in that flow, and then a few little suggestions as to what we would love you guys to do. Shannon will bring this all together in the Seek Volunteer and Rosterfy flow later. But as you can imagine, someone comes to Seek Volunteer and they end up on the search results page. Now, this page is pretty much like your window shopping, right? So what they see on this page is the big long list of opportunities. So here it's the title of your opportunity and probably the first 3 or 4 sentences in the short description. So from that page, I say only 50% of people actually go through to click on an opportunity. So we've spent a little bit of time trying to reduce the word limit of the title, and really encourage you to think about those couple of sentences as your movie trailer, because we know how you write that opportunity. And if you think of someone, scrolling on their phone on a tram or something, you actually don't have that much time to get their attention. So, making sure there are things in there that, don't double up on location. Don't use the word volunteer too much. They already know they're looking for a volunteer experience. So keep it as succinct as possible, because if there is way too much information, we know they're not going to click through. So that's the first point. Once they click on an opportunity and have a look at it, 13% of those people then go on to click on the apply form. And we know a lot of people click through and obviously want to apply, but they also just check out that application form. They're like, okay, even if I'm not going to apply now, what do I need to do? So our job is to keep that as simple as possible. We've resisted many requests for some unique fields to go in there, but at the moment, what someone needs in terms of a volunteer to go and clean up a beach is very different, to what you might need for, say, understanding the skills of someone who might run your organisation's social media as a volunteer. So we tend to err on the side of caution and keep that form really succinct with information so that you can then make that judgment further down the track. What we did do some time ago is leverage Seek Employment, who, similar to other employment platforms, have the Seek profile, which does have, it's like a resume. So we now have a field, and we've had that for about 2 years in our apply form, and 35% of volunteers are putting that in. And what that is a link straight through to their Seek profile with more information about them, the same information that they would use if they were applying for a job on Seek, but it's just one field. So it's not putting, when people open that apply form, they're not getting daunted by lots of extra fields. So we know our job is to keep that pretty simple. And then 50% of those people go on and apply. So we do obviously track the applications. And then, as I mentioned earlier, probably about 6 to 8 weeks after they apply, we send them what we call a placement survey. So we do this, obviously, this is what happens off platform. This is the bit that's not within our control and is within your control, around understanding how many people actually went on to volunteer. And if they did, we ask them, have they had an ongoing relationship with you? Because that's really pleasing to know that they haven't just done one opportunity, that they might have gone on and done a couple. We know that pre-COVID, around about 3 out of 4 people did actually have an ongoing relationship with you guys. But since COVID, people have got a little bit less committed, and that's dropped down to around about 60% of people. But of the other, if you look there, of the other sort of like 44% of people that didn't go on to volunteer, when we asked them why, it's because they didn't hear back from the organisation, which is pretty frustrating for both them and us. And going back to, we know you guys have got a huge admin burden, and it's not easy to get back to everyone. But through integrations like this, if we can automatically transfer application data into whatever system it is that you are using to manage your volunteers, we hope that it's easier for you to get back to them. Because underneath that statistic is when they don't hear back, they don't try again. They're like, okay, I tried, and they get back on with life. So we really want to re-engage, get them re-engaged quickly. We want to get them to come back and look for another opportunity. They don't care if it's a no. They just want to know that it's not a yes and that they can get back and find another opportunity. So that's how we look at our funnel, and we're really, really clear on where we need to do the work, and we're really clear on how, I guess, that this integration will help that volunteer journey be a little bit more seamless.
For sure. And I think that's what I'm learning through this experience, speaking to lots of different customers and prospects around Australia, is some organisations just aren't using Seek as well, Beck, because they're going, well, we're a disparate way of managing volunteers. We have 50 colleagues across Queensland, as an example, that they're part volunteer, part of their job's volunteer management. It's just too much work sometimes for them all to be managing their own jobs and things on Seek. And so this is a way that they can centralise the management of that and get their jobs posted automatically on Seek without adding additional workload, especially to those that are part-time or volunteers themselves, so that you can get more eyeballs on your opportunities. And I just think we're missing a trick by putting it in the too hard basket, and that's why we're here to make it easier. So thank you back there. And then a very quick overview here really for an overview of the experience in Rosterfy, I suppose, where, again, I said it at the start, the biggest thing I believe that we offer really better than anywhere in the world is the automation in which you can onboard all your different roles. And so hopefully this process here shows, like for British Art Foundation, one of the UK's largest charities, they previously had a 42-step process, and they reduced that down to 21. We've had quite a few customers here in Australia do exactly the same thing. And I guess like a Lifeline, which we'll talk about later, somewhere close to reducing the admin time in half and increasing the conversion rates of volunteers by nearly double. So these impacts are real once you start to automate these processes. And as Beck said, people shouldn't need to be waiting for a phone call 2, 3, 4, 5 days later or an email. If someone gets around to it, it should all be tied into automations, which is hopefully this process that we're following here. And I guess this slide here covers that full process. Again, we'll share the recording with everyone that's joined today afterwards, so you'll be able to take a look at this in more detail. But I guess if we look at it in terms of breaking it down, the first part in Seek and the second part in Rosterfy, but the main part here, which will be better explained in the videos, we'll be posting once, okay, from Rosterfy, will automatically update in Seek. You do not need to do it twice. And the volunteers will apply once on Seek and automate through to Rosterfy. They do not need to register again their details in any other system. Beck, anything else here before we move on?
No, exactly. Yeah, you'll need to be a Seek Volunteer customer to access this. And this is, our first integration of hopefully many down the track, but first for a while.
Cool. Thank you. All right. So this video that we've put together here is somewhat brief. So again, please watch the recording if you want to see the more detail. And I've also put in the chat channel our Seek Rosterfy website page. It has some more information. And on that, you can book a call to get more detail about how it might work for you as well. So I'll hit play here. And this here is just going to go through the flow here. I might just pause as we go so we can sort of describe it. So this is a volunteer on the Seek page, as you would all recognise, applying for a role. From there, they'll get the notifications and it will automatically pop up in Rosterfy to complete that application. And what's showing on the screen here, they've instantly gone through to the volunteer portal where they'll be able to see more detail about that position they have applied for. They'll complete their application in Rosterfy. And then as you see on the screen there, we're automating the progression and onboarding of that volunteer so that they are ready to volunteer at the end of it. And this can link all the way through to scheduling. So it doesn't just finish at recruitment. This can go all these checkpoints. You see the 3 circles on the screen there. That could be 7 checkpoints that a volunteer must go through, from online training, induction, interview, reference check, whatever it might be, working with children's, and finish in them applying for the shift and role that they want to get into. And when I think about larger customers that we have, maybe the last checkpoint is an automated email to the local administrator in Toowoomba to say, hey, John is now ready to volunteer at your organisation. And I'm unsure if we have anyone from like Meals on Wheels Queensland who are a customer of ours. That's been a massive time saving for their local administrators, who are often volunteers themselves, that in the past had a real challenge in the manual work that they needed to do as volunteers to onboard new volunteers. And sometimes it just gets a bit too hard and they go, well, yeah, we've had applicants, but we've been too busy. I'm not really referring to Queensland Meals on Wheels here. I'm just talking about anyone. And this is a way in which, especially for larger organisations, to be able to see a live dashboard of where everyone is at in the process. And I think if we look back at the Sydney Children's example, a challenge they had was the visibility of where are people at? Like, how many expressions of interest have we had? How many of them have got to stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And where's the blockage at? And now there's live data to track this and automations to progress volunteers through each of these stages. And things like, if a volunteer has got to the Working with Children's check stage, as an example, and has sat there for 5 days, you can set an automation to prompt that volunteer through the process. And maybe after 7 days they haven't done anything, an automation can run to invite that person to opt out of the journey. So at least everyone's clear in where they stand and there aren't any miscommunications anymore. So that's the flow there in terms of the volunteer experience, where they are now ready to volunteer all the way from starting at Seek without needing to go into another system. So the next thing I'm going to show here is the administration process. So from your Rosterfy account as an admin, how do you go about setting up the integration? But then secondly, how do you go about posting opportunities? So you see here as admin, logging in, you'll simply see the Seek integration and be able to plug in, I guess, your connector with Seek, and then you can post your opportunities as you're seeing on the screen here. Putting all the details that Seek would be asking for, and this all ties in via the API. Perfect. And now that is opportunity that you promoted both in your Rosterfy account. So all of your volunteers in the Rosterfy portal for your account will see that opportunity, but you can also then, as you've seen on the screen there, publish that same opportunity live on Seek as well. So Beck, I might pause there. Hopefully those two sort of overviews were helpful. Beck, is there any other comment, or maybe are there any questions that have popped up through this at all?
Yeah, a couple of questions that I can kind of see, which one popped up, which was around what if volunteers don't want us to share their information between the two platforms? And on Seek Volunteer, I guess it's called consent and your individual rights around your data. One of the reasons that we're doing this is actually to make that process more secure, because even if it's going from Seek Volunteer, it's usually going into an Excel spreadsheet or something somewhere, if it's not going into Rosterfy or any of the other platforms out there. So a volunteer is consenting. It's in our terms and conditions and our privacy statement for us to collect their information, and they're consenting to that being shared with another platform related to us. So it's an interesting question, though, because things like privacy and consent are becoming bigger and bigger issues. And although they are consenting to it, we're looking at little things like making that a little bit more explicit on Seek Volunteer. So we are definitely covered and they're agreeing, but we down the track are looking at other ways to make that more explicit so there is no confusion. So that's from a data transfer and privacy perspective.
And Beck, another one from Betty around notice for Seek that it's only for certified social enterprise. Is there any sort of evolution in that process, how you engage your customers, Beck?
Yeah, so we're a free platform, Seek Volunteer, and we have always been available to not-for-profits, and we're very black and white around that. And then a couple of years ago, we introduced being available to social enterprises, and it was pretty much just a bit of a resource thing and keeping it very black and white. And we have a relationship with social traders who have a certification process to certify social enterprises, and we will accept any social enterprises that have been certified through social traders. We're working out how to evolve that model. At the moment, we look up the Australian Charities Register to make sure that you are a registered not-for-profit, but we just want to keep it very black and white. So at the moment, the social enterprise side of things is through the social traders certification.
Cool. And then a couple there for Ash around really for Rosterfy about what if you don't want to share with Rosterfy in effect, and maybe you answered this before as well, Beck, but just to be clear, this is just for Rosterfy customers as it stands today, and Seek may want to expand this in the future, and that's part of their process, but this is just for Rosterfy customers. And the second part of that question was around pricing. So right now, it's I guess our response is for anyone that's jumping on it at the moment, it's an evolving thing. Right now, we're testing and learning. And so really, up until June, we're really keeping it free and easy for everyone to use it. And then it's an assessment down the line. But at the moment, that's our stance, is that it's a free integration for everyone that's using it from Rosterfy. So I don't think, Beck, is there any other point you have? There's one from Betty around the regional festivals and things. Absolutely. Maybe that might be better for you, Beck. Can you see that question?
Yeah, look, I mean, this is for us, one of, we hope, many integrations. So you guys, and there's a QR code to have a little bit more of a look at Rosterfy for yourselves later. We have a bit of a list of others that we're talking to. To be quite frank, Rosterfy, we're the most enthusiastic. They're an outstanding tech platform with fantastic experience. So for us, it's been great to do our first integration with Rosterfy and learn from that. And then we will have a page on our website of other linked partners that we will work with down the track. So if rather than contact us, though, can I suggest that if you, and I've seen one or two questions come through, your action will be to talk to your tech platform. We need them to be as interested as Rosterfy were to make the volunteer experience better, and get them to contact us about integrating in the future.
Cool. And the last one there from Alex around lots of different volunteer roles. And so maybe we'll address that as we go. But Alex, to your question about can you have lots of different roles, the answer is yes in Rosterfy. We've invested very heavily into a module we call Journeys, which you can build out all your different onboarding journeys from all your different positions that all require different compliance, training, onboarding, reference checks, and you can build them into this flow as well. So that's something that we have invested heavily into and is a quite unique element of what Rosterfy offers. So, all right, so that's the end of these videos that we've put together. Again, feel free to look at the recording we're going to send through. I just wanted to touch on some other live examples. Again, touching it, feeling it. Everyone recognises the brand of Lifeline. So for them, they're able to process volunteer applications 3 times faster than they were before they had Rosterfy, using in a basic volunteer management system, and a 50% reduction in volunteer application admin. If you think about your organisation, the amount of time that your team is spending manually processing manual work, and think about that time that could be better used to grow your volunteer program. If you can replace that time with spending time at universities recruiting the next generation of volunteers, that's how we truly take our industry forward. And I think that's what we really believe in passionately. And this is why we're here today, to hopefully show how this integration can work. And maybe, Alex, to your question before, I just wanted to highlight this quick video here shows how you can build in configurable automations like background checks, as one of the questions was. Then you build them into automated workflows. This is how it works in Rosterfy. And these can work with working with children's checks. All your different checks and balances can be part of checkpoints that are automated that volunteers go through. So I'll keep moving. So what does that mean for volunteering organisations? And I think we all know it. We've all sort of been and we're touching and feeling this in the work that we're doing. But I think just a few key points here around boosting retention. The biggest thing that I really believe in is about, and I saw a comment in the chat before about from a volunteer saying, so many times she's tried to volunteer, she hasn't heard back from the organisation, or she's heard back in a couple of weeks' time and just not bothered. And I think that's the underlying data that we're not looking close enough at. And so if we can improve that conversion and make that volunteer feel really appreciated instantly off the bat by automating instantly the communication and prompts to get them into the role that they applied for, then that will naturally boost your retention. There's a lot of data we've looked at about getting your volunteers to their 3rd shift. So how do you instantly get them as soon as possible to their 1st shift, and then making sure that they are engaged through a centralized platform and through your organisation and engagement to get them to their 3rd shift so that you can boost retention. enhancing impact naturally as you grow your database and volunteer sort of community, you're going to boost your impact. The word of mouth, I think this is another underlying thing, again, we're not talking enough about. So if Beck applies to volunteer at an organisation down the road, never hears back from them, what's she saying to her friends around for a coffee saying, well, just don't bother, they didn't get back to me. And that's the stuff that really hurts, that we're just not aware of or looking at, because again, if we go back to the data, one of the first or second slides, Sydney Children's Hospital really didn't have the data to know where people were dropping off as part of the process. And I guess if they were looking at a 30% conversion rate, there's 70% of people out there that, what are they saying about the process that they went through or didn't go through? Building reputation, naturally, that flows off the back of that, and personal growth. So look, we all know it. We wouldn't be here without it, but we know how much we actually give back to volunteers by providing the opportunities for them to connect to their communities, improve their mental health. So I think it's up to us to make that experience better for volunteers, and we shouldn't be standing in their way. Key takeaways. Beck, maybe I'll let you handle that first one, given that was the first thing you spoke about.
Yeah, I mean, it's just expectations are changing, right? We all have them. It doesn't matter what age you are now, but certainly over the next 10 years, they are going to increase even more and more. So it's really great to be here today, to be showing how we're bringing that into the volunteer sector and into the volunteer experience. I was thinking about, as you were just talking then, Shannon, it's kind of like, for me, sometimes I've thought about our funnel as a leaky bucket. We do all this work to fill it up, and then we have this drop off, and it frustrates us and you so much. So it's great to be able to, with our joint customers that we have between Rosterfy and Seek Volunteer, to be able to at least plug that gap so that we can, give them a great experience and re-engage those ones and block that leaky bucket while we continue to fill it up at the top end. So my brain works in pictures, and that's what I was thinking when you were talking then.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. And that's it. It's about the expectation, quick and easy. If I go back to, again, one of the first things I said today around that fundraising experience, there is no drop-off. If someone wants to give you money, that you're not jumping on that and automating those processes. I think this is our chance in volunteering to do the same thing and really set the same standard. It's something that I firmly believe in. So a bit of Q&A. I think we've answered quite a few of the questions as we've gone through, but guys, please do feel free to put some more questions in the chat if you have them, as we've probably got 5 or 10 minutes remaining. And then maybe I'll just leave this on the screen just while we're chatting. Please do feel free to get your phones out and scan this QR to, book some time in to further understand this, because I appreciate we've just been talking at you for sort of 50 minutes today. And so there's a bit to consume, and we'd love to sort of slow it down and walk you through it and how it might make sense for your organisation. And again, that push before the end of June is something that we're really wanting to get as many people testing and trying and learning from this experience about how we can enhance volunteering. Mark,
Shannon, we've got a couple of questions. Do you want me to jump in with them? I've just got a few more.
Yeah, please do. Thank you.
Yeah. So someone's asked, can I customise my job posting before it's sent to Seek Volunteer? You absolutely can. You can tailor your role description on Rosterfy, and then it automatically gets sent to Seek Volunteer. You can actually, we hope you don't need to do this, but you'll always be able to log into your Seek Volunteer admin portal if you need to. We hope you don't need to, because we hope you can, just do it in Rosterfy and send it across. But for whatever reason, if you want to tailor it even more, you can. The next question is, can I track the performance of the applications from Seek through to Rosterfy? Yeah, this was a great piece of feedback from one of your colleagues out there at Starlight Foundation, who said it's really important for you guys to know the source of your applications so that you can see where best to put your energy. So when someone applies on Seek Volunteer and we transfer that data automatically across to Rosterfy, you'll be able to see that application has come from Seek Volunteer. So that data will help you refine your recruitment strategy and optimise your postings in the future. And the next one is, will my existing candidates in Rosterfy be affected by the Seek integration? No, they won't. They'll continue to have their great experience that they have being part of the Rosterfy ecosystem already. So this is really about adding a new channel funnel, I guess, into Rosterfy and creating that great volunteer experience for those new customers that come through, volunteers that come through from Seek Volunteer.
Yeah, thank you, Beck. And there were some questions there around the difference between Better Impact and Rosterfy. Look, the only thing I'd say is just feel free to book time with us and we'll walk through it. I do think there's a comparison on our website if it would be helpful for you, but we'd love to walk you through it. I think that user experience and the automations is a key thing about the time saving and efficiencies gained for your organisation would be the number one point of difference. So, Mark, I might hand over to you for a bit of closing. Look, there's our details as well for anyone that wants to see them, but you can reach out to us. Most of you know us all pretty well, so feel free to reach out to us directly through the website as well, or through that QR code. But Mark, I might let you wrap us up.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Shannon and Beck. It was a great session. I think for everyone here, it illustrates the importance of technology, the opportunity for technology to improve experiences. I would again reiterate the importance of jumping onto the volunteering gateway. Not every organisation is the same and not all of your needs are the same, and the gateway provides an opportunity for you to be able to define who you are, what you're looking for, and what solutions may be appropriate for you. We've had a great illustration today from Shannon and Beck as to the opportunities that you can avail yourselves of and look towards improving your mission delivery. Jump onto the gateway. Gateway is a great place for you to find resources, training, and of course, solution providers such as Seek Volunteer, Rosterfy, and a whole lot of others. Not every solution is going to be fit for every organisation. I'd again, thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Beck. The investment that's going into volunteering is really encouraging. We need to see more of it. Innovation is the hallmark of volunteering, and we see it in connections such as this one. In each and every state and territory throughout Australia, I encourage you to get onto your state and territory peaks, have a chat with them. If you're not already, they're a great source of information and support. We shouldn't have to do these things on our own. Again, we put up some details around the volunteering gateway, and I should just do a little plug for the gateway, just to say that the gateway is a finalist in the Australian Not-for-Profit Technology Awards, where there's a particular focus on technology for community impact. We're really proud of that. We think it's a great technology provision and solution, and as the name suggests, a gateway to solution providers. Shannon and Beck have provided us an example of that today. We'll be rolling out more of these to assist you in your focus on delivering mission into community. So with that in mind, I will thank everyone for their time today. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything you do for the volunteering ecosystem. And of course, jump onto the volunteering gateway and have a chat to our wonderful presenters.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I really appreciate your time, and Beck as well. Thank you for the work you and the team have put in. And guys, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to jump on that scan there or through the website, and we'll walk you through it. So thanks a lot, and look forward to next steps.
Thanks, everyone.